olive press and wine press. In olive press, you want to crush hard the olives in order to get to the oil inside the pits, right? Because there is a lot of oil inside. It's not exactly the story when you press grapes, because you don't want to crush the seeds of the grapes
inside the
because
grape.
it's very bitter.
It's get bitter.
And
Get a little.
tannic. Tannic. So the way that the grape press, the wine press used to work is, first of all, whose job was to step on the grapes?
The woman.
Children.
I
Because
thought
they don't weigh.
it's
they
not the
don't weigh
cigar,
too much.
guys. It's not the cigar.
They are
Could be a cigar.
lighter, so that the kids was supposed to press to step on the grapes. Okay. Now, if you will look at on the floor, the mosaic floor is not just for aesthetic reason. It has a practical reasons. Okay. It's the way to
Not to slip.
to prevent
Slippery.
the juice to infiltrate into the ground. Okay. Because you want to pave the floor in order to prevent the juice to infiltrate into the ground and to just become mud. You don't want it to become muddy, right? You want to keep it as clean as possible. So the kids used to come over here and step on the grapes. The juice goes down, okay? And from here there are a few channels go to the different rooms
Chambers.
surrounding, okay, with another layer another kind of barrier on the way to prevent some of the dirt to go down to the different chambers. Okay. Now there is a very, very long research and new research about how did the ancient wine press used to work. Was it open? Was it open like here, or was it cover? Okay, because one of the conditions when you talk about winemaking, one of the conditions is that once you started the pressing, the fermentation starts, and you want to make it as slow as possible.
So cool.
So you
It needs
can
to be cool.
control it. Okay.
It need to be cool, so it's covered.
It need to be cool. So on the past few years, there is a new research that talks about the fact that it was covered, and the fact that we haven't found it doesn't mean that it wasn't exist. Okay? Why? Because it was probably made from organic material, which does not survive for thousands of years, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't exist. Okay? Are grapes naturally growing here or not? Yes, they are. Okay, when we talk about the 7 species the land was blessed with, grapes are definitely one of them, very important one. There are wild grapes, and we even found wild grapes in this area. Okay, Geffen Hayain, the wine grape. This is one of the original grapes that was found here, original natural grapes.
Ministry of Tourism logo as well. It's
What?
it's the Ministry of
Ministry of
Tourism
Tourism.
logo.
It's true. And according to some of the researchers, somewhere on this area was the beginning of wine production. The Armenian and the Georgian will tell you it was probably over there. But there are new research that said it's actually over here more than 11,000 years ago. It's the most ancient wine producing here in this area. Okay? There was a wine production in this area until the 7th century, more or less, when the Muslim control over this area started. Muslims, as we know, not immediately, but don't drink wine, don't drink alcohol. Okay, it wasn't started immediately, it started later, but in general, somewhere around the 7th century, the production of wine in this area of the Judean hills stopped. Until when?
Until
Probably
back with the
19th
Crusaders.
century, 19th century, and then you can find a few Christian Palestinian wineries around Bethlehem that started over,
Kremezan.
and Jewish Zionist wineries around the Carmel Mizrahi, etc., etc.,
Garden Mountain.
funded by Baron Rothschild.
Okay.
In Zichron?
But
No?
the varieties of wine that was made by the Jews was actually.
Kosher.
It's not about that. It was not. It's important. It was important. It wasn't the local. It wasn't the native. It wasn't native grapes. Okay, and this is something. Why? Because the guy who led it was French.
Okay.
Okay. So he said, okay, let's do wine like in French. So he brought Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot and Carignan, etc. And he said, okay, let's make great wine here. And you know what? It was shitty. It was bad. Not because it was kosher, because it's not part of the land. Okay, as the local wineries around Bethlehem actually used local varieties, more ancient varieties from this area, like the Buki, Bituni, etc. Another research that is fascinating about how they track the native varieties of grapes that have been growing here since very ancient times. In the meanwhile, between the 7th century and the 19th century, there was no wine production, but there was a ton of grapes. So this area became very famous. Bethlehem, Hebron, Halil, became very famous for grapes production, of other production, other produce, rather than wine. Such as Malban, Dibes, Zbib, etc. Raisins. Malban is kind of for those of you who doesn't know. For those of you who doesn't know what Malban is, it's actually a kind of leather made with grape juice, mixed with semolina, cooked together with semolina and black snowball, black pine nuts. From the local...
Black seed.
חפת אל-ברכה? אני מכירה קרש. לא קרש?
No, fresh is different.
אוקיי. אז מה זה נייג'רה סיד? זה חפת אל-ברכה?
I will not be able to translate. I just know it as
Black
black.
Black seed.